little mailbag edition of the Heat Report. We haven't done one of these in a while, but I wanted to answer some of the questions from the Heat fans. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. And the first question that we'll be answering on today's show is from Lord Pension, asking about Nikola Jovic. Is he a lost cause? If so, what do we do with him? Now, I'm not so sure what you mean by is he a lost cause. Are you talking about for this season or for the rest of his career? Because that certainly should not be in question when it comes to Nikola Jovic and his career. But this season, I do think it would be beneficial to the Heat for probably shutting him down. And I know it's just a hand injury, but it's making sure he recovers and is fully healthy. This season's going nowhere. But in terms of his career, it is an intriguing question. I really like Nikola Jovic. I've been one of the leaders of the Jovic fan club. There's no question about that because I love the way he can score, the way he plays in terms of creating for others, his high IQ at his size of being 6'10", 6'11". But the issue I have is he doesn't play. Like, yeah, he didn't start on the rotation last season and only gained rotation status at the end of last season, and that's why he played 46 games. But he's only going to play in 46, 50 games this year. So that's back-to-back seasons of about 46 or 50 games. And despite his progression from last season to this season in a more of a larger role, I still think there is a concern about Jovic being a little injury-prone. I like the guy, but he's dealt with numerous ankle injuries. He's dealt with some back injuries. Now this hand issue. Hopefully none of these just continue to stay and lag around, but it does give me a little pause for concern when he has not been able to stay on the floor consistently. All right, we're going to continue to answer your questions, but if you were not featured on the mailbag, well, we answered these questions that came from our community tab. So one, make sure you're subscribed, but if you did not get featured, you can ask more questions over on my Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. So give me a follow talking about the Heat every single day. All right, we'll move on here to Elias with a question. Should Pelle Larsson get more minutes next season? And if so, whose minutes is he taking? Larsson has not got a lot of PT this season, but it has gotten in a little bit of an uptick over the past couple of weeks due to injuries in the end of the year. The second-round pick out of Arizona has done nice things this season, but is he someone in line for a second-year breakout next year? Well, his raw numbers aren't going to be solid this season, but I do like what he does. He does the little things correctly. He's got good size. He moves his feet on the defensive side of the floor and stays in front of his opponent. Now, he does have a little bit of a fouling issue. He gets him in trouble a little bit. But I think he's got a smooth three-point shot off the catch. Nothing crazy, but I think he's got a similar role to play out like Haywood Highsmith, but more of a guard version than a forward/big man version like Haywood. Both are hustle players, catch and shoot three-pointers. I think Larsson's a better finisher inside. I think he's a better handler of the basketball too. I think Larsson should get PT next year. We'll see who is on the roster based off trades because Burks is going to be gone in free agency. Could Rozier be traded? What about Jaquez? Is Jovic going to return? Duncan Robinson, is he returning? Like, that is going to be a question, but I do want to see more of Larsson. He's shown me enough to earn a role next year. Let's move over to Hands with a question. What if the Heat strike out again in acquiring KD or any superstars like Trae Young, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or Ja Morant in trades this offseason? Well, I have a tempered expectation this offseason. I do. I know a lot of Heat fans think that a star might be coming soon. I believe the Heat are going to try to acquire a star. I believe that the Heat are going to be all in on trying to trade for Kevin Durant. Should they be? I don't know. But KD seems like he's going to be on the move in Phoenix. The Suns roster is a disaster. It's logical that they retool around Devin Booker and move off of KD since he's under contract for just another year. So it makes sense to me that KD is likely the one being traded, and I expect Pat Riley to have interest. But is it the worst thing in the world if the Heat miss out on Kevin Durant? No. Is it going to cost you a lot? Yeah, because he's still really good, and he's 36, 37 years old. Does he fit your timeline? Does he help you win now? I'm not so sure. Trae Young, I think, could be had for a relatively good price, so I'm interested there. And I don't think Giannis or Ja ultimately get moved. But I don't think it's also the worst thing in the world if the Heat strike out. It would be disappointing maybe, but this is no longer a win-now window. We now should be building for the next 5 to 7 years, not winning right now like we were the past 2 to 3. Like, it was always like needing a star now to help complement Jimmy and Bam. But now that Jimmy's gone, you're now on the Adebayo timeline, which is competing over the next 5 to 6 years. It's not as precious and pressing to win right now, so it's not the biggest deal if they miss out. All right, we just talked about little 4 trade targets there, if what happens if the Heat miss out. Let me know who your number 1 trade target is for the Miami Heat. Pick up the phone, be Pat Riley. Who should they be trading for? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let's get over to Christian with a question. Now that the regular season is coming to a close, what are your thoughts on Kel'el Ware and Larsson's rookie year? Both have impressed this season, but especially Ware. I feel like his ceiling is very high and potentially limitless. Do you agree or disagree? Would love to hear your, I'm assuming, thoughts cut off at their end. Well, we talked briefly about Larsson, so we'll focus here on Kel'el Ware, who was obviously picked 15th overall by the Heat in this past 2024 NBA draft out of Indiana. And he has overexceeded my expectations by quite a bit, actually. He's become the full-time starting center, and he's had some big games this season, including one just a couple days ago against the Sixers where he had a double-double, shot perfect 6 for 6 from the field. He's got a 7'4" wingspan, 7-foot height. I really like what he brings to the table defensively when he's locked in, and I think he could be an excellent rebounder as well when he is positioned better, adds more strength to his frame so he can box out, play through physicality more. And that is the next step for Ware, right? He just needs to add more to his size because as currently built, he gets pushed around a little bit. And he adds more, still has that athleticism, still can space the floor a little bit with shooting 31.7% from beyond the arc. I wouldn't say his ceiling is limitless. I think this is Heat fans getting a little bit too excited about a new shiny player. I understand that, but you have to temper expectations a little bit. Yes, I do think he overexceeded my thoughts on his rookie year, and I'm happy and stunned by it, but I do not think he is some MVP level guy or an all-NBA center, maybe even an all-star guy, but he is going to be a high-level rotation player for the Heat with no questions asked. All right, next question here coming from Alex. How has Tyler Herro's role evolved this season, and can he be the franchise's centerpiece moving forward? A little bit of a two-part question here that I'm going to answer in just 1 second. But I do want to tell people about Prize Picks, the sponsor of today's show. I play Prize Picks every single day. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. I play Prize Picks every day. I combine different sports, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, hockey, esports. It doesn't matter. You can also combine different players. Like, for example, the other day, I had a Tyler Herro combined with Quentin Grimes, more than 6 3-pointers made. It's a fun type of way, and it's so easy. All you do is pick more or less. It's so fun to use. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. Taco Tuesday, for example. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. You could play in so many different ways, season long. We showed our baseball season-long entry last week. I had a basketball season-long entry for this season, and it did not go my way. I did want to check back in. Bam, more than 9.9 rebounds. That did happen, at least as of right now. Same thing with Jalen Brunson, 6.8 assists per game, but I took the less than on the first overall pick, Reece Sachet, and he's averaging 12 plus points per game this season, so tough one for me. But I'm still playing Prize Picks, and you can join me by downloading the app and using code CLNS. That'll get you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, shifting the conversation back to Tyler Herro, this is where his season stands statistically as of filming. 23.7 points per game, 5.5 assists, 5.2 rebounds, shooting efficiently from the field, which has always been the biggest thing for Tyler. Remember, in the first 2 months of the year, he was shooting like 43% from 3. That has come back down to 37.5 due to just volume, but he is shooting pretty well from the field, and he's got that elite floater game, which is just continuing to impress. The teardropper, the giant slayer, whatever you want to call it, Herro's got it on automatic, and he's been playing excellent over the past couple of weeks. But the thing with Tyler for this season to me, it's been an up and down season for Tyler Herro. It has. He started off extremely hot, looking like an all-NBA and all-star level guard over the first 2.5 months. And good for him, he was put on the all-star team. But then he had that stretch where he was turning the ball over a ton, shooting very inefficient from the field, just after the All-Star break. But over the past couple of weeks, he has been exceptional, shooting over 50% from the field, over 60% from beyond the arc. He's been phenomenal. It's all about turnovers with Herro. If he's able to not turn the ball over, he is playing really well. He's improved as a playmaker. He's improved his vision. He's improved playmaking for others. But I still don't think Tyler Herro is a centerpiece of the Miami Heat. When I want that to be clear, hold on, because I know that could be sounded poorly. Is he a centerpiece for the Heat? Yeah, like he could be a top 2 or top 3 player for this Heat team, but you have to build a perfect roster around him. When I think is centerpiece, I think like the number one option. I don't think him or Bam are number one options. I think they are good building blocks, but you still need that lead dog, need that guy. That was Jimmy Butler. And that's the ironic thing about this entire situation, right? If Tyler Herro was doing what he was doing this season for the Heat 2 years ago, we might have a championship, which is why it's irony, I guess, that the season went the way it did, because you got everything you could have asked for Tyler Herro and more, and Bam declined, and then Jimmy got traded. Like, unlucky for us, I suppose, as fans. Animated Planet with a question. Are the Heat in tanking range? In my opinion, I would not want to make the playoffs, so our pick becomes protected. Well, as of filming this, which is actually on Sunday afternoon, that is March 30th, so before the game against the Wizards on Monday, we'll see if the Heat win or lose, going for their 5th straight. They currently are 10th in the NBA lottery standings. It gives them a 2.5% chance to get the number 1 overall pick, 11% chance to get into the top 4. So tanking range, I think they're going to end up having a pick between 8 and 11. I would ultimately probably guess it's closer to 10 and 11 because the Blazers and the Spurs keep on losing. The Bulls keep on winning. It will be all dependent on what happens in the play-in. Remember, if the Heat win the first play-in game and then win the second play-in game, they won't keep their pick this year because they'll be in the playoffs and just have the Warriors selection. If they lose one of the play-in games, they'll be in the top 14 and be in that probably 8 to 11 range, unless they win the lottery and somehow are in the top 4, where they could take a VJ Edgecombe, a Kasparas Yakachonis, a Dylan Harper, a Cooper Flagg, or someone like that. But hopefully the Heat do have a top pick, because I don't want to see them just get swept in 4 games or lose in 5 in a playoff series. All right, make sure you are subscribed, because we'll continue to break down the Heat every single day, whether it's watch parties, whether it's mailbags, whether it's news, rumors. We will have you covered here on the channel with everything you need to know. So hit that sub button and join us today. Sebastian with a question. What would your reaction be if the Heat were to trade the top pick, assuming they miss the playoffs, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, and maybe another first-round pick for a young point guard that could lead us out of the hump? Examples could be Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, or even Anthony Edwards. Big fan, by the way. Well, appreciate that comment, Sebastian. I'll say this. Tyrese Maxey is not going to be traded. The 76ers will not be dealing him. There's just absolutely no chance. But Trae Young and Anthony Edwards. Let's talk about Trae Young first. It would not cost that much, in my opinion. It might cost you multiple first-round picks for Trae Young, but it would not cost you this year. I think a trade package for Trae Young would likely look like a Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier, Jaquez, so kind of similar to that, and then the Warriors 2025 pick and a 2030 pick. I would not want to trade our top 10 pick this year if that's what it would require. If we're picking in the top 10, I want to keep that pick because I really like the prospects that you could get in the top 10. I really, really do. But that's for Trae Young. If Anthony Edwards were to request a trade and become available, then yes, you are offering everything you possibly could for Anthony Edwards. I would be offering Kel'el Ware in that deal as well. I have no issue admitting that. You need to get Anthony Edwards in the Miami Heat organization if he's available. And Ant, Bam, Herro, Big Three could be interesting. Hell, I would probably trade Tyler Herro for Anthony Edwards if I needed to, because Ant is just on a different level than Tyler. But assuming you're trying to keep Tyler, you can trade 3 first-round picks, maybe 4. You could trade your 2025. You can trade from the Warriors. You could trade that top 10 pick that you get on draft night. And then you can trade the 2 ones you have in the future, 2030, 2032, plus the salary filler, plus a Ware, plus a Jaquez. Like, I would do anything in my power to get Anthony Edwards. So my reaction would be very happy on that. Trae Young, not trading that top 10 pick. I think the last question we're answering on today's show, do you still like Jimmy Butler? I know this is a big talking point for Heat fans. I still do. I do. I'm sorry. I just can't quit the last 5 years he gave us. I understand it was a messy end. I understand that he might not have a good relationship with this Heat coaching staff or front office. And heck, he might not have a good relationship with some of these players in the Heat locker room. Based off what we saw from Jimmy last Tuesday when he didn't say hi to anyone, that might be the case. But Jimmy Butler was a warrior. He led us to 2 NBA finals. He led us to another Eastern Conference Finals. He gave it everything he had to try to bring a championship to the city. No, it did not end well, but I will always respect Jimmy. I always liked Jimmy. Just sad that the Heat could never get over the hump, get him the help he required, and it was sad that Pat Riley had to tell him to shut up off the basketball court because that's what sparked all of this anyway. All right, that's going to do it for today's mailbag. Like I said, if you did not get featured on this show, you can ask me questions over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. Go give me a follow as I'm talking Heat basketball every single day. Once again, at Nic_Rohloff.